All right, everyone, welcome back to the MMM. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We'd like to thank our corporate sponsor of tonight, Yehuda Fleischer of SCH Security. Thank you so much for making this happen. Additionally, we'd like to give a huge shout out for bringing the Gashmias up to a whole new level. Reb Yitzchok Zimberg of Gourmet Gla. Thank you very, very much for providing epic levels of Heiligkeit. Okay. So, this week marks Rosh Chodesh Tammuz. We started Tammuz, and Tammuz obviously is the beginning of the somber months of the year, and then we get into the, we call it somber, serious, we get into El, and it's really, the Psalm talk about how it's all a shalshalas, it's all a rolling wheel, how we go from Shavuos straight through to Sukkos. But right now, we started Tammuz. I was thinking on the way back from Marav tonight, what does Tammuz mean? And what does it stand for? So it came up in my mind. I don't know if it's true. There's probably no source for it. But if I may propose, Tavi Mashiach V'tizkar Zechuy Yisenu. Tavi, Mem Mashiach, Vav V'tizkar, Zayin Zechuy Yisenu. We're definitely in a matziv. You look at the news, you can't ignore it. It's frightening, it's tragic. Every single day Yidden are dying. And as we know, even though there's a ceasefire, but there's definitely no end to Shechina B'Gelusa, and especially now. In Tammuz, we're such a bad state as a klal and as individuals, just everything. And we're losing souls. And you look at the news, just the tragedies, it's just beyond our capacity to handle what's going on. And it's all Shechina B'Gelusa. It's all that the Eibusher doesn't have a place of Ashaz Shechina. It's all because HaKadosh Baruch Hu isn't comfortable, he's not content. And yes, there's a ceasefire with Iran, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu still needs us to keep on pumping and to only up the ante. And the summer's here, but we have an avodah as Yidden, not to kick back and relax, but to thrust into full throttle and see what we can do for ourselves and for the klal. And hopefully be zeiche to perhaps what Tammuz stands for, or at least what it can allude to. Tavi Mashiach, with his Zechuy Yisenu. Bring Mashiach, and remember, evoke our Zechuyos, our merits, and l'chari, that's l'avodah for now. So last Shabbos I was in Monsey, and I was Gimel Tammuz. It was a perfect day to be in Yeshayna Shul, because why would Jacobson, Rabbi, why would Jacobson? Shout out to Tzvi. Big chassid, Reb Wawa, if you see this, we have Tzvi Bennett over here. He's a big chassid of yours. I am too. And he spoke on Gimel Tammuz in Shayna Shul. He gave a quick Dvar Torah. But it was perfect. It was perfect. Some people, they just always say the right thing at the right time. And I want to share that with you. So it says in this week's Parsha, start off the Parshas Chukas. V'yidaber Shem al Moshe v'al Aaron leimor. Zois Chukas HaTorah, Asher Tziva Hashem leimor. This is the Chukah. Chukah means it's something that has no explanation. It's something that's not necessarily logical. It's something that we don't give rhyme or reason. It's a choik. What is that? Vikchu elecha paraduma. Take for yourself a red heifer. Temima. It's pure. It's tamim. Asher im b'mum. It has no blemish. Asher loy aleh all. And what's the process? What do you do? It's for tumas meis. A person became contaminated. He contracted tumas meis. He got in contact with a corpse. So he has to be nitar. He has to be purified with the para aduma process. That is, in essence, what the para aduma is. It's completely red. It's unblemished. It was never used for work. And the Torah tells us that in order to purify, you take the efer hapara and you sprinkle it onto the contaminated person, and he becomes tahar. Now, you may or may not have heard, but this is one of the most fundamental kashas, one of the biggest questions asked, which highlights this choik. The Medrash Tanchuma asks, Omer Shlomo Melech asks the Kasha to understand what's going on over here with the paraduma. Amarti achakma v'hi rechoyke mimeni. I want to become smart, I want to understand, but it's far from me. Why? Amarti sheya chacham v'lo yehoyed biyadi umahi rechoyke mimeni Parshas paraduma. Shlomo Melech says, he testifies about himself, you want to know what I'm missing in my wholesomeness, in my being a perfect, a tamim, a pure and whole Talmud Chacham, a wise person. The thing that's missing that I don't understand is paraduma. And what's the big kasha? What's the big issue? So says the Ramban that I don't understand that on the one hand, the Efer HaPara, the ashes of the para, are metaher the tameh, it purifies the impure. But at the same time, the Torah says, but the big problem, the Mount Everest, the kasha of the chayk, what we don't understand, and how Hashem made the system over here, is that on the one hand, it purifies the impure, and you sprinkle it onto the impure, and it becomes pure. But the Torah says that the same on the other side of the token, that the one who prepares the Efer HaPara, he becomes impure, he becomes tameh. How can it be? If the Efer HaPara, the ashes of the para, they have the capacity, the ability to be mitaher, the person who's tameh. So how could it be that the person who's preparing it, he becomes tameh through touching the Efer HaPara? It makes absolutely no sense. Crash into a wall. We all hear the kasha? Good kasha. So I heard B'Shem the Baal Shem. I heard and I saw two separate things, but I think there's really one. The first yesod that I saw brought down B'Shem the Baal Shem is as follows. What's going on over here? The Torah is telling us a big yesod in this chayk, in this, we don't understand it. It seems like a concrete, we just smash out against what we can't understand. It makes no sense. How could it be that's mitar the tameh, but it's mitameh the tar? Says the Baal Shem. Number one, step one, is it's a message to all of us, to every yid. That sometimes a yid can think, a person can think, me, I'm good, I'm perfect, I'm wholesome, I have everything worked out, I'm tar. Says the Torah, a chayk. Says that you got it all wrong. It's the tameh person, it's the impure person who recognizes and who's able to address and is comfortable with being tameh, with being impure. Only such a person can rise, can come out of his sulliness, can come out of his impurity. Such a person who makes himself susceptible to the Kedusha process, realizing that he's in a low place, realizing that he's impure, and he takes the Efer HaPara and he puts it on himself, he can rise, he can become tar. But a person who says, I'm Mr. Tar, I'm Mr. Perfect, I'm Mr. No Imperfections, that person, the second he touches the same stuff, he becomes impure because he cannot realize the truth that we're here to work on ourselves, that we're here to grow. And he's stuck in this place of I'm perfect, I'm untouchable. And says the Baal Shem, the Torah is communicating through this chayk that if you're such a person, realize you have to take a step out and realize that we're all full of imperfections, we're all full of dirt, of schmutz. And if you're not willing to work on it, then you're always going to be a tameh. You're always going to be impure. But a person who wants to work, a person who wants to grow, he wants to come out of his impure state, such a person, when you throw in the meichatas, you throw in the Efer HaPara, he can become tar. That's the first you said to the Baal Shem. But says the Baal Shem another gedank, which is mamish Tammuz. It's mamish what's going on in the world. Says the Baal Shem, that when it comes to ben adam lechaverei, when it comes to interpersonal relationships, interactions, there's two ways of going about. Walk into shul and a friend starts opening up to you and he says, you won't believe it, I'm struggling with my shalom bayis, I'm struggling with my kids, I'm struggling with my davening, with my bitachon, with whatever it is. There's two ways we can approach, we can engage in this situation. Either we can say you're a nebuch, I'm sorry, and walk away and say go find a therapist. Or we can open up our ears, give him 2 minutes, realize that there's someone in pain, not just sympathize, but empathize. Sympathize is just realizing there's an issue. Empathizing is being with him in the issue. And this can apply to your friends, it can apply to your wife, it can apply to a Mashalach at the door. What the Torah is mandating, what the Torah is communicating through this chayk, is it's telling us that if you want to help other people, you want to be a true friend, a true chaver, a true ben Torah, don't sit high on your pedestal and say, I'm Mr. Perfect, same idea. I'm untouchable, and I can hear you, but I'm not going to actually get involved on a granular level. I'm not really going to hear. I'll sympathize, but I'm not going to empathize. Says the Torah, we learn out from the Para Aduma, we learn out from this paradox of Tar and Tamei Tar. The Torah is telling us that if you want to help your friend, you want to bring the Para Aduma, you have to become Tamei as well. So he's going to become Tar, the impure, the person that was contracted, the Tumah, he became impure. But you want to be Mitarim, bring the Efer HaPara, and you're going to be Mitarim. But you, a condition to being Mitar someone else, to helping someone else, is that you also have to become Tamei. You also have to get down in the dirt. You have to get in the mud. You have to be there with him, not just sympathize, but empathize. And that's the Avodah of the Para Aduma, says the Baal Shem. That's what the Torah is communicating to us. And especially as it comes to Chodesh Tammuz, and as you get to Av, with the Torah, with the Beis HaMikdash was Leicharva, only because of Sinas Chinam, we have to increase, we have to do whatever we can for Ahavas Chinam, and Ahavas Chinam doesn't just mean, okay, I'll give you $100 to get out of my face. There's a guy with a problem over here, there's a guy with pain, there's a guy with whatever it is that he's struggling with. It's our wife, it's our child. Open up your ear, see what they're saying, see how I can really help you. Be there, become Tamei, not Mamish Tamei, but go get off your high horse. Go down with him, get to his level, become Tamei in the sense that I'm ready to listen to you. I'm ready to be there with you in the mud that you're facing, and together we're going to grow. Together we're going to address the issue. To finish up, there's an incredible Maisa that Huawei said over, Huawei. There's this Yid whose name is Moshe Tzur. And what happened was he was fighting in the 6-Day War, and he and his unit received packages from the Lubavitch Rebbe. In the middle of the desert, all of a sudden there was a huge box with tons of packages for the Chayalim fighting back in 1969. And this Yid Moshe Tzur wasn't affiliated at all at the time. He's thinking to himself, like, my high, what's going on? This great rabbi in Crown Heights, he cares enough to send the entire unit in the middle of the desert a package to show his love. Like, I don't understand, but he put it away, he enjoyed it. It was Purim time, and it said Chag Sameach from the Lubavitch Rebbe. Years passed, and once he finished his service in the war, he came back to America, and he remembered this strange, much appreciated and thoughtful situation, and he's like, you know what, I have to go find out, like, who's this rabbi, and like, what was that all about? So he found out about the Lubavitch Rebbe, went down to 770, and he started talking to the Rebbe, and he felt his warmth, he felt his love, and he was very moved. And he said to the Rebbe, he said, okay, like I'm really, like I'm so appreciative, and like this means so much to me, and I want to tap into my roots, into my heritage. And the Rebbe said, okay, great. And he said, so let me ask you a question. Like, before you take on any commitments and before you start, jumping on full force, what are you doing for Klal Yisrael? What are you doing for Yidden? And he said, me? What am I doing for Yidden? Like, nothing. I went to the army, now I'm done, and that's pretty much it. And as Wabi said it, he said, there's nothing possibly worse you can say to the Rebbe that I'm not doing anything for Klal Yisrael. And the Rebbe immediately said, Moshe, he said, let me ask you a question. He said, in Yiddishkeit, he said the right side is the dominant side. It's the prestigious side, right? Yad Yamin, Kol Peniya Sha'at Peinuh Lo Ya'el Yamin. When it comes to Chanukah, we light to the right side. When we say V'zoysa Torah, we do it with our right hand. The right is the right. So I have a very simple question for you. He said, you're a sophisticated man, you went to the army, educated. He said, where's your heart? So Moshe pointed and he said, it's on my left side. He said, does the question not speak for itself? He said, if Yad Yamin is the strongest, if it's the most powerful in Yiddishkeit, so the heart, which is what keeps the entire system going, it's what keeps us alive, Halidoverhu, it should be on the right side. He said, Nu Moshe, what do you say? He looked at the Rebbe, dumbfounded, and he said, Rebbe, I don't know, tell me. And the Rebbe said the following words that changed his life. He said, if the heart was created for you, it's a good kasha. Why is it on your left side? And he said, because the heart was created for Yanim. The heart was created for the person standing opposite, standing towards you. It's on his right. And he got the message, and Moshe Tzur got cracking, and he realized that the responsibility is great and the time is short. And he went on to becoming from, opening up yeshivas and koilim, and did amazing, incredible work. But this all stemmed from that love of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. He was sitting in Crown Heights learning and being busy with people and taking care of Klal Yisrael. But it mattered to him that there were soldiers in 1969 in the middle of the desert that were struggling, that didn't have a Parm Sameach sign, that didn't have a letter, that didn't have a Shalach Manis. And he took it as his achrayas to send them. He got down on their level to help them out, to elevate them, to show them that he cares. May we take the lessons of the Paraduma, as the Baal Shem Tov says, Mitar es atmeim umitame es atar. If we want to truly live as one with Benada Mechaviroi, with caring for our friends, it's about being mitame ourselves on behalf of our brethren, on behalf of our friends, realizing what they're struggling with, what they're facing with, and not just saying, okay, getting down on a deep, granular level, sympathizing, not just that, but empathizing with them. And with that, may we be zeiche to Tovi Mashiach v'tizgar z'chu Yisenu. May Hashem bring Mashiach, redeem us from our foes, from our enemies, from our tragedies and the tzaras that we hear every day. And may bring us light and happiness and simcha. And v'tizgar z'chu Yisenu, with our merits, with our collective efforts, may we be zeiche to the long way to Mashiach Tzidkenu. Amen.